podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Ground Jewels. My name is James Dixon and this is the podcast that celebrates special sporting places. We are back. What a summer of sport it has been. We left you just before the Euros was kicking off. Our final episode of season 2 was the brilliant Henry Winter talking St James's Park. And since then we've seen the Euros with all the highs and lows that brought for England fans. We've had the Copa America, Roland Garros, Wimbledon, a brilliant Tour de France, genuinely brilliant. 2 fantastic golf majors, the US Open at Pinehurst with Rory McIlroy's heartbreak, and then the Open Championship at Troon, which I was really disappointed not to be able to get to, but I couldn't get to Troon because I was fortunate enough to be enjoying the test match at Trent Bridge. So we've had some great test cricket and the Summer Olympics in Paris. And I was watching the opening day of competition on the Saturday. And it suddenly dawned on me, I'm probably not going to be going to LA 2028. Very unlikely to be going to Brisbane 2032. We don't know where the Olympics will be post then. But it's probably fair to say that it might be more of a sort of brick country or emerging economy after going to Japan, France, USA, Australia in consecutive Olympics. So then maybe we're looking at 2040. I'm a little bit overweight, approaching middle age. I just felt I had this fear of missing out, and everything looked so amazing. And beautiful and grand. I had this feeling like I wanted to go. And I thought, I'd just go online, I'd just look at Skyscanner or Google Flights, and the prices will be ridiculous, and the hotels will be ridiculous, and that'll dissuade me of my notion of going. But they weren't ridiculous. In fact, I could get a £60 flight to Paris from Bristol. Okay, but the hotels. I got a hotel room, all right, not a great hotel room by any means, but I got a hotel room in the centre of Paris for €70 a night. I had to go to the Olympics. I was just going to miss out otherwise. And so I took, with the very kind permission of my wife, I took a few days off and I went to the Olympics last minute on my own, sort of spur of the moment thing. I can honestly say it was one of the best things I've ever done. Got to visit some really great venues as well. So particularly for the hockey, which is at Stade Yves du Manoir, a super historic stadium full of great history. It was the main stadium for the 1924 Olympics. It's where you get Chariots of Fire, all the Harold Abrahams, Eric Liddell stuff. World Cup, it hosted the 1938 World Cup final between Italy and Hungary. It was the venue for so many classic Five Nations matches, particularly those great Wales-France matches of the late 60s that we covered a little bit in our archive with John Taylor. It's just a brilliant stadium, a 100-year-old stadium as well. And you can tell that, but it's a lovely touch that the organisers of Paris 2024 have gone back to the main stadium of Paris 1924 and included that in the games. The games that I saw 2 hockey games there. One with the host France in a thrilling 3-3 draw against Spain, and that got the local crowd really engaged, and that was a fantastic warm-up to the Netherlands, Great Britain. Which was a brilliant 2-2 draw with Great Britain coming from 2-0 down in the last 10 minutes to seal a very important point. And so, yeah, I had a fantastic time there. Really great setup for the Olympics. Baking hot though on the day that I went, and I was very glad to be in the only covered stand. kind of fortunate on that account, because the people who weren't in the covered stand were not enjoying it. They were watching the 15-minute period of hockey and then leaving the stand during the 2 minutes changeover period just to get a little bit of respite and from the sun. So that was interesting. From there, I dashed over town to the Stade de France. It's my second time visiting the Stade de France in less than 12 months, because I was there for the Rugby World Cup. Very, very different crowd, much younger, much more diverse. Both racially, but also clearly from a sort of LGBT point of view as well. More French than the Rugby World Cup, which was interesting, and it made me think, like, how does 15-a-side of rugby harness that, or can it harness that? Because what it made me think was, oh my God, that Rugby World Cup tournament that I went to in September and October, it was so old. And it was so white, and it was just like, where's the future of rugby? Is rugby going to be able to regenerate itself and its fan base? Is it to do with ticket pricing and availability? Were people priced out? I don't know the reasons for it, but it's remarkable that in two sort of mega events in the same city, in the same stadium, less than 12 months apart, that the crowd was so different, but hugely engaged in the action. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for the men's sevens, where France won the gold medal and Anton Dupont got to take the acclaim of the crowd, which he couldn't do in the 2023 Rugby World Cup. I hear the atmosphere was unbelievable during that. But I went to the women's sevens and completely sold out, packed out stadium. Brilliant atmosphere as well. Some great games. The bronze medal match was superb, with America scoring a try with the last play of the game to equalise. And I thought for a minute that they were going to miss the conversion. Not miss it, but miss being able to take the conversion, because they were celebrating too much and the clock was ticking down, and it got down to 2 or 1 seconds left before they actually kicked the drop kick that won them the bronze medal. The Canadians were brilliant. They were sort of wily and gutsy and gritty, not sort of playing that traditional sort of Fijian style of sevens, but it was a very physical style of sevens, and they disrupted both Australia in the semi-final and New Zealand in the final. Nearly won, but they came away with a silver, New Zealand the gold, and I mentioned the Canadians because the next morning I came out of my hotel at six in the morning to go to the triathlon, and the Canadian team was still celebrating out on the streets right next to the Moulin Rouge, which I guess where they'd been most of the night. I could be wrong, but they were still out there celebrating with their silver medals around their necks, and they were having a great time. The next day I saw the triathlon, which was on a fabulous course. Got to see Alex Yee battle Hayden Wild. What a finish that was. Beth Potter pick up a bronze. So, that was one of the things I really wanted to do. I wanted to be there when Team GB won a gold medal. And Alex coming past Hayden in that final stretch on the Pont de Alexander, gorgeous backdrop of the Grand Palais, and all of that sort of stuff was fantastic. Paris itself is a superb city, but making the Eiffel Tower the sort of centerpiece has been brilliant. Not just the beach volleyball stadium, which everyone can see, but they have this new initiative called Parc de Champs, or Champions Park, which is a 13,000 capacity venue where the previous day's medalists come and take the adulation of the crowd and get to pose for photos in front of the Eiffel Tower. I saw that Turkish shooter who's become a bit of a meme for like how dead-eyed he looked. He was there celebrating. There was some Serbian shooters who were sort of living their best life and throwing their gear and their kit into the crowd. It's just such a lovely idea to bring people together, and particularly for the minor sports or the sports that may have been competed at, sort of on the edge of Paris. Maybe if you're out on the water or the canoe slalom or the rowing or something like that, and giving them the opportunity to come into the centre, come in front of a big crowd and take a bow, and it's not just the gold medalists, any medalist could come. Not all of them did, but I think the ones who chose to come to that were well rewarded and well supported by the crowd. At the Cauldron, I know a lot of people talk about the Cauldron. The Cauldron is spectacular. I went to see it on my last evening, and it's right near the Louvre. I'm just waiting for sunset, and then you get the Eiffel Tower light show that you can see, and then the cauldron floats up into the air. It's genuinely beautiful. So bravo, Paris, bravo. Everything that I could have wanted from my Olympic experience, I managed to cram into 2 or 3 days. It brought me back to London 2012, that lovely, warm feeling of a city sort of enjoying itself and celebrating itself and welcoming the world and saying, this is what we have to offer. We quite like it. We hope you like it too. And yeah, I know there was some criticisms for the opening ceremony. I thought it was great. I thought it was very French. And the important thing to understand is the French don't care whether you like it or not. And I love that attitude. Just like we loved our opening ceremony, the sort of nod to the NHS and the celebration of Britain that Danny Boyle put on, they loved theirs. And I'm sure they're massively enjoying the Olympics, and they have every right to. They've put on an absolutely fantastic show. It's just a shame that it only happens once every 4 years, and we're probably not going to see it in Europe for at least 12, but probably more likely 16 years again. So who knows who'll get it next in Europe? There has been talk of London going for it in 2036, which I think would be unseemly sort of hasty since the last time that we hosted in 2012. But it's been a while since Germany hosted. It's been a while since Italy hosted. Madrid has bid for a few Olympics without success. They were in for 2012 and 2016. Turkey is very keen. Istanbul's been put up a number of times, and for whatever reason doesn't seem to be been picked by the IOC so far. But that might change in the future. So yeah, we'll see. We will see who's in the mix for hosting this in the future. But when it does come back to Europe, I encourage you to think about going. I had the best time. I can't say any more than that. The absolutely best time. But we are back now. We're back into the regular beat of the sporting calendar. We've got to finish off the cricket season, the football season starting, the rugby season will start soon after that. Then there'll be NFL. Everything is sort of falling back into place after the Olympics. And we're going to be with you each and every Friday until Christmas. And then I had planned to have another little break then. We have some fabulous guests this series, some of which I can't share just yet because it will break my heart if they don't come off. But if they do, easily some of the biggest names we've ever had on. But it's not just about the big names, as you know. You're a discerning audience. We have some of the most thoughtful and interesting voices discussing their fandom and their connection to sporting places like Villa Park, the Oval, and La Bombonera in Buenos Aires. And I can share those because they're already recorded. And because the Football League is back this weekend, we're going to start this Friday with the poet, playwright, and master wordsmith, Ian McMillan. Ian will share his love of Barnsley Football Club and their mighty ground Oakwell with us. It truly is one of our best episodes. I can't wait for it to drop into your podcast feeds on Friday morning, and who knows, it might even inspire you to go and experience Oakwell on Friday night when they host Mansfield Town to kick off the League One season. A fixture that still sort of simmers with the politics of the miners' strike 40 years ago, as Ian's interview will cover. He will also tell you not one, not two, but 3 quality butchers in Barnsley where you can get a pork pie from. I'm not going to spoil that, but if you do need to be aware of the Barnsley pork pie scene, he's got you covered on that. And we talk all sorts of things, including how he became the poet in residence for Barnsley Football Club, their fantastic Premier League season back in the late 90s, how he ended up hugging a stranger at Wembley. There's so many great stories and anecdotes. I just love it. I think it's one of our better episodes. So you'll get that on Friday, and I will see you next time.
Sports Social Podcast Network.